Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
Welcome to Leave Me Alone. I'm working on it. I'm Cassie J.
I'm Ore.
Orelua Ajewole.
Oh, full
Have
naming
you
me. Okay.
ever been in a situation where your your gut is telling you one thing, you've got a life decision that you want to make, and you know what you want, but everyone else in your world is telling you something different? And when I say everyone else in your world, I mean your people, not just like randos, but like your people, like your family, your friends, your husband. Everyone's like, yeah, we don't agree with you.
You have to be prepping me before you spin these things at me because now I'm like, need to process my whole life and see. And because,
Okay, well, while you process, let me unpack. Okay.
okay,
I have recently found myself in a situation where there is something that I am feeling to be true for myself. And I'm very sorry. I'm not going to go into the detail. Not yet, not today,
wow.
but maybe one day. Okay. There's something that I'm feeling very true for myself. I'm feeling good about it. But the people in my world are just kind of like, they don't think that it's a good idea. And like when I say they, I mean everyone. There is a unanimous like thought process from the people around me, and I'm literally sitting here going like, so what do I do? Do I trust my own gut in this moment and just go for it and see what happens and deal with the consequences if there are consequences? Or should I heed the counsel of those I trust most and be like, yeah, okay, you know what, you guys know me and you're probably right. Let's not do this thing.
Look, I'm a firm believer in, actually, no, that's a lie. I was gonna say I'm a firm believer in letting people make their own mistakes, and then I remembered
Mm,
something from when I was
that's
in
not true.
uni, and I'm like, "That's not true. That is
It's
a
not. I
lie.
as someone who knows you, I will tell you that that's
That is a
that's not true.
lie from the pit of hell." I'm not. I especially if it's a mistake that I've made and learned
Mm,
from, and then I see
mm.
you about to do the same thing. Yo, I'm kicking and screaming because I'm like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. I've done it. I've been there. Don't do it. Why do you want the heartache? Take my heartache. Why do you want to do this?" Like I would, if I could chain you to the floor so you don't do this thing, I would.
Yeah.
I feel like I would, like in a scenario where you're trying to decide, should I go with my gut or should I listen to the people in my life? I feel like I would probably be one of the loudest voices telling you not to do something or to do something because I think it's
Yeah.
good for you. So I'm sitting here trying to think, like, in my own life, what do I lean towards? Like, am
Mm.
I the kind of person who likes to make my own mistake, or do I
Yes.
listen to other
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. That's a good way to phrase that.
I don't like to make my own mistakes. I'm just like, if I
Hmm.
could be saved the heartache, I will take it. Because I
Wow.
usually, again, it depends on the thing. But if it's
Of
like
course.
if it's not, if it's I love to experiment with things. So
Yes,
in
you
that
do.
kind
This
of
is true.
thing, but those are like with small things, like with food or with hair or with clothing or like trying a new place to go eat. Those kinds of things that are not life changing decisions. I'm not
Yeah.
listening to anyone. I'm like, oh, it's fine. What's the worst that could happen? Like, I
Yeah.
want to try it. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing, I will make my own mistake and I will own it. But like with something substantial, finances are involved, or like the
Mm.
person you're going to marry, or like the job, or like quitting my job,
Yeah.
I would listen to the people around. Actually, I would want someone else to make the decision for me.
Help you make the decision. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I understand. I think for me it's more like okay, so I'll give you an example. Like so for me, one of the things that I wanted for like a really long time wasn't like to work abroad. Okay.
Mm,
And like this wasn't a secret, especially in my family. Like it wasn't a secret. I also come
mm,
from a family that has done nothing but live abroad, like like
mm,
over and over and over again. So when I finally got the opportunity and I took it to my family and I was like, and specifically my mom and dad, I was like, guys, I got the job. I'm moving to Dubai. Like, I did not get the reaction that I wanted from them. Like, as my mom and dad, who knew what I wanted, knew that they were just like, "Are you sure? But like, why Dubai? And where you are now is so great." And
Was
like,
the issue about you moving to Dubai specifically, or just you moving in general?
it felt like it was about me moving in general. Do you know what I
Ah,
mean? Like, why? Like, why would you uproot like what you're
mm,
doing here and go and do something different in this weird foreign land, you know? Um,
mm,
and like for me, the conviction for going through with it was so clear. I was like, this is something that I wanted. It is now here. I've already said yes. So whether you guys are with me or not, like it's
mm,
happening, you know?
mm.
But their advice was more like, just think about if this is something you really want to do because we don't think it's, the right thing. So for me,
Really?
that was, yeah. So for me, that was an example where like the advice that I was getting from people I love and I trust was different to what I was feeling inside me. I was like, this is definitely the right move for me.
Mm.
And I did it anyway. And it was
You had a
great.
good time.
I had a great time.
I think there's definitely the place to listen to the people in your life. And how much deeper do you want to go into this episode? Because I've got a whole story that I want to tell.
I want you
And
to tell the story.
and it's a Love is Blind story.
Go for it. Love it. I have it, and please know I also haven't watched the season,
I
so you have
know,
to tell
I
me
know.
what
I feel like
happens.
you and I are both probably in that we are a bit over Love is
A
Blind.
little bit, little bit, little
Yeah,
bit.
because we used
Because
to like,
I wasn't even excited for this season.
girl, I've watched, to be very honest, this thing I want to say happened in episode 1, which was the
Okay.
only episode I had watched.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
when I realized that when I wanted to see, like, I wanted to see, follow my thought process through. So then
Mm.
I went and I skipped through episodes 2 and 3, I think, and maybe 4. I don't even know. I just skipped through it and was looking for this one couple. So I was basically tracking them across the
Oh, I
episodes.
see.
So
I
I'd
see. I
only
see.
play when I see them. And I'd skip. I feel like that's the only way to watch Love is Blind now, with your remote in your hand and your hand on the fast forward button. Skip, 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 skip,
To
skip.
get through the
When
painful
it
parts.
To get through, yeah.
Oh, because
But
they just do
anyway,
this thing where they yap and they yap and they yap, and I'm just like, okay, we get it. You don't know if you should be with him or not.
yes,
Move on.
I was gonna do a whole episode actually on this thing, which is why I'm like,
Okay.
I'm
Do
kind of
it, do it, do it, do
hijacking
it, do
Cassie's
it.
episode. This thing that you're saying is actually what I was gonna talk about. So
Okay.
on Love is Blind season, I don't even know what season we're on now. 7, 8?
Nice.
The
8,
the one
whatever.
that
I don't
has
know.
just ended. That ended, I don't know when it ended, a couple months ago. Anyway, um, there's this girl. Her name's Hannah, right?
Okay.
And she meets this guy in the pods, and his name's Nick.
Okay. Hannah and
Now,
Nick.
Hannah and Nick. Now, Hannah and Nick are vibing. It's a cool time, you know. They're having chats and bants and whatever and whatever. And it's kind of cute, actually. It is kind of cute. But then Hannah goes back. So Hannah's liking this guy. You know, she's feeling it.
Yeah.
Hannah goes back to the ladies' female quarters, whatever it's called, and then says to and the ladies are like, who are you feeling? Who are you liking? And Hannah says, Nick. And their faces are just like, ugh. She's like, what? And they're like, he's such a smooth talker. He's too smooth. He's too, like, the only complaint, they were like, he says all of the right things. La la la. And Hannah's like, yeah, but he seems like a cool guy. He seems like a fun guy. But the response is like not very positive. And I had, because I'd actually watched the whole of episode 1, I'd seen him chat with some of these other ladies as well. And
Yeah.
honestly, nothing untoward happened. Like, he
Mm.
wasn't being a dick. He was just vibing, honestly. Now, I know that for everyone who's watched Love is Blind to the conclusion of this season, or the past season, you know what happens with the next storyline, and you know how that all plays out and how it doesn't really end well and all of that. But not because he's a bad person. He's just
Oh, so they don't
immature.
end up together?
I'm not. You haven't watched it. Why am I telling you this?
You've
They
dropped
do
it
end up
now.
together. They do end up
Okay.
together, but they don't. Does that make
Oh,
sense? It's Love is
yes.
Blind.
They
Yeah, they
didn't
get
say yes at the
engaged.
altar, but they
Exactly, which is
yeah.
I mean, that
Okay.
happens all the time now.
All the time. Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is, now Hannah's unsure. She likes this guy, but because the girls are saying
Oh,
he's too
because this
smooth, he's this. So then she goes back in for another date and they vibe and they chat. And she's within. Like
she's
she's
within.
having a good time with this guy.
Yeah.
And then she goes back and then she says, and they're like, how did it go? And she says something like, gosh, I feel like he's gonna break my heart, but she said it like in a
Oh.
girly way,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
she's just like, and they're like, you're still talking to this man? And one of the girl goes, oh, I'm so glad I'm over him. And then and so Hannah's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like he's got depth and like you guys just haven't gotten to see it yet. I feel like there's more to
Mm.
him, if I keep chatting with this guy.
Mm.
And they're all like, "Oh, he's just such a smooth talker. I can tell that he's good with women. La 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 la." And then Hannah's like, "Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to like this guy, but I really do kind of feel like he could be the love of my life." And this other girl laughs and goes, "Hannah, that man is not the love of your life." And Hannah says to her, "But you don't know. You're not in our conversations." And she's like, "I don't need to be in your
Mm.
conversations to know that that man can never
Mm.
be the love of your life."
Mm.
And do you know what Hannah does? She goes back in and breaks up with this guy
Oh no,
and then
Hannah.
comes out and is miserable about it because she actually really liked the guy.
Really liked
But
him.
because everyone else was like, "Ugh, he's too," and
I
honestly, if they
think
had said he's rude or they said he's too full of himself or he's
I'm
self
with
centered
you.
or
Like
anything
even
negative,
you don't understand why they
even
had the
me,
view
I'm
they
just
had.
like, okay,
Yeah.
he's a smooth talker. So what? Like,
Mm.
he's okay, you think he's smooth. Okay, you think his and I'm just like, "Hannah, what are you doing? Like, you're having a good time. See it through. The point of the
Yeah.
experiment is to meet
It's just
someone
yeah. Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
see it through." Like, if you
Yeah.
start to feel like you'll obviously get to a point where you'll have to make decisions and you're like, "No," like, they've not even had, like, the deep or serious conversations yet. None of that has happened. Like, the kids or the
Yeah.
money conversations or the are we really ready to get married or the job, they haven't had deep convos or the vulnerable ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still vibes. And all of
Yeah.
these women have now gotten in your head and you're willing to
And
throw this
changed,
thing
yeah.
away. And so I was just
Shame.
like, at what point do you decide to go with your gut or to go with the people in your life? Because what if your gut is telling you, hold on, and everyone else is telling you this is a bad plan, but you know and you can feel it that you're about to miss out on something that could potentially be good for you?
Yeah.
At what point do you
I
draw the
know.
line to be like, do you know what? It's a little heartbreak. It's not gonna kill me. Let's go. That's where I was stuck because I was just like,
Well, because this is the question, and I think that there's something to be said about there's two things that I wanna say is, number one, when you are also trying to make a decision like this, like, you're trying to make a call that and and usually these are things that are, like, big calls, like, these
mm,
are things that you make this decision and the impact on your life is going to be great. It's not like, "Should I order pasta or should I order rice?" Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, "Should
Although
I
if you're
move
me, should I
halfway
order pasta? Should I order rice? Is a big decision.
I'm
Big
glad you
decision.
acknowledge that
We can be
because
doing that thing for 2 hours.
my goodness, okay? But like so it's not so I'm not talking about little things. It's like these are decisions that will impact the course of your life.
The
This
course
is
of your life,
usually
yeah.
where we arrive at these crossroads. And at these points there's two things that can really make it difficult. The first is who are the people that are speaking into your life? So for me, like in this situation, Hannah has also just met these people. Like these are people she's
Mm,
just met. Like you don't know
yeah.
if they've got your best interest at heart. You don't know if they're speaking from a place of you in the center of their minds.
Yeah.
You don't know what traumas they are carrying themselves that they are now speaking from and putting on you. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so like there really is a part of this that is like, who are the people that are speaking? The second thing that is an issue when you have to make these life changing things is if you have too many voices that are weighing in.
Mm.
Like if you open it up to be like, I spoke to my, 10 friends and my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and my mom and my dad and my grandparents and my mentor
Yo,
and my sponsor and my therapist. Do you know what I
you're
mean?
not
Like
gonna make a decision that way.
you're not,
You're not.
there's also going to be too many views to take into
Yeah.
consideration. And that could also make you just be like, oh, I now like don't know what to do,
Mm, mm, mm,
you know?
mm.
So for me in this situation with Hannah, the thing for me is her gut clearly was speaking in a way for her, but the voices that were telling her are not voices I would give that much authority to, especially in a
Mm.
decision like this. I have just met you, all of you, Nick included, but I have
Yeah.
just met you. Like, I don't know that I'm going to put that much weight or that much stock in your advice.
I think that's a really, really good point because you're right. Like these are all new voices. So
Yeah.
what makes their voices more safe to listen to than Nick's
Yeah.
voice who's telling you I because Nick is telling her I really like you. I can see a future. I think we can get along well, you know. That's one
Yeah.
voice. And these girls are all like he's just too smooth. He's probably a player. He's also an ex-football player, you know. They've all decided he's probably this really hot buff guy who's successful, who was successful and has now, you know, ended one career and starting another. Like he's had his pick of women. They've all decided he's a certain person. And I'm not saying he's not that person, right? Because a lot of things will still come to light at the end of the day, you know.
Mm.
But to your point, these are all brand new voices, you know.
Who are
So
you? Why do
who
you have
are
the
you? Why are
authority
you
to speak into
speaking?
my life?
Yeah, fine, new voices. But in a situation where it's not new voices, you know, in a situation where it's voices that you trust, voices that you
Mm.
back, that are telling
Mm.
you something. Does it always mean that you still have to listen to them? Because for me, other thing I took away from that whole scenario is that sometimes no, all the time the advices people are giving to you are going to be one-sided, are going to be based on
Correct.
their experiences,
Correct.
based on
Correct.
their life experience, on who they
Mhm.
are. So
Mhm.
are you have to ask yourself, am I willing to throw away the possibility of a good thing based solely on the one-sided experiences of other people?
Yeah.
Because if you for instance, making it up, if your encounter with Nigerian men is not good, you're going to say all of them are scum,
Mm.
right? And when
Mm.
your South African girl comes and says she's liking a Nigerian guy, you're gonna be like, ha, babes,
Mm-mm.
don't do
Run,
it.
run, run.
Run.
Yeah. Mm.
Meanwhile, for someone who's dated, you know, Nigerian, South African, Ghanaian, I don't know, they've probably got a wider worldview, but still,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that the experiences that they've had will determine the experience you will have. And
Correct.
that's where I think we get tripped up. Because especially when it comes to things like relationships and love,
Mm.
we've always been told that because we're too close to the situation, you can't see clearly. And so you
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
rely on your homegirls and rely on your
Yeah.
people.
Rely on your people.
It is great advice, but girl, at some point, you are also going to need to make up your own mind, regardless of what people are
Correct.
saying.
Yeah.
And if making up your mind means everyone's telling you you're setting yourself up for heartbreak, prep yourself. Okay. If this is a mistake I'm going to make, fine.
Then I'm gonna make this
Then I'm
mistake.
going to make it because right now my gut says go, you guys say stay. And
Yeah.
I'm caught in between the two. So you're like, you know what?
You know
Let's
what?
go.
It's so funny. Like I saw this meme on Instagram as well. It was so funny. But it was like it was one of those like girls friends pages whatever. And it was like okay, so as a group we've decided that this decision that I'm going to make is the wrong one, but you're my friend. So okay, let's stop talking about that. What should I do? Like how should I make this happen? You know? And I was just like, this is so funny because
But honestly,
you're right.
it's the right thing.
At some point, like, okay, I've gotten all of your opinions. Thank you so much for that. This is the decision that I'm making. I know you're not for it, but as my friends, Your obligation is to walk this journey with me. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Because
um,
what if it's
I
a good
think
thing?
because
What
what if
if
it's a
it
good thing?
turns out to be
So,
good?
like, I also want to move away a little bit also from like the romantic stuff, because there's the romantic side of this, but there's also other world's life decisions as well. Like, for example, for me, I found myself in a situation, and it was at work. I found myself in a situation where, okay, I had just gotten promoted, okay,
Mm,
and my promotion meant that I now sat on the lead team
mm,
of the company that we
mm,
were that I was at. And um I was the most junior person in that lead
mm,
team. And there was an opportunity for like an idea to do something. And I presented an idea. I was like, well, this is something that we could do. And in the meeting, everyone thought about it, thought about it, thought about it. And then everyone was like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's do it. Cassie, you'll lead it. And I was like, amazing, cool. So I was like really excited, just promoted, super junior. I have an idea. People like my idea. I'm gonna make my idea happen. I then get an email from this guy who was on the lead team as well, who at the time used to be my manager and was a
mm,
really not a great manager, like really, really not a
mm.
good guy. And it was a real joy when we got separated. He was no longer my manager.
Mm,
But he hated the fact that I was now on this lead team. He sends an email out to the whole lead team saying, I don't think this is a good idea. These are the reasons why this is definitely going to fail. Okay.
Yup.
And then other voices started to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. And so I found myself in a situation where I was like, everyone who with experience, okay, because again, I was the most junior person, everyone with experience was saying, this basis, this one guy's like, he was the one who spoke up first. They were like, okay, maybe, yeah, I can see where he's coming from. Maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe we need to pivot. And this conversation was happening on email. So I'm watching these emails come through, and my heart sinks because I'm like, oh no. Like, I
Mm,
was really excited about my idea, but now I'm like, do I trust the voices of the people that have been around longer than me?
mm,
Or do I push forward? Like, let's try and let's see. Like, okay, it might fail, but what if it works? Anyway,
mm,
so I go to my manager, and so I say to him, I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to try. Like, I was like, I have faith in the idea. I want to try. And so he was like, okay, go for it. Try. I will back you up. And I was like, amazing. So I replied to everyone. I was like, guys, I really think this is something that's going to work. Like, trust me. Okay.
mm.
And I could just feel this guy like waiting for me to fail,
For
like
you to fail.
wanting me to fail. And the idea was, I mean, it went off like gangbusters. Like, it was amazing. Everybody loved it. The results were
Mm,
incredible. It was so, so, so phenomenal. And it made me look really good, which is great as
mm.
well. But it also in that moment required an element of like like trusting myself, trusting my
Mm,
gut, trusting my conviction, even though everyone around me was like, "Bleh, no,
yeah,
like we're not so sure, we're not so sure."
yeah.
I think there's also an element of like of trusting your gut, but like a little bit of bravery as well. Like, if you've made the decision, then be brave to move forward, because
Mm,
there's something to be said about the fact that your gut is speaking so strongly to you as well. And it might
yeah.
be that somewhere in your subconscious, you have more information than the other people. In the Hannah
Mm,
Nick conversation, Hannah had more information than the other people. She had the
mm.
conversations that she was having with Nick to support the reason why she felt. And they didn't have that perspective. So
I mean, it's not like
sometimes be brave.
the Hannah and Nick thing, it's not like it ended well at the end of the day. But not
I'm
just
with
because
you.
of Nick, because Hannah was also, yeah, I mean,
Mm,
Homegirl also has a lot to work on. It wasn't just
okay.
Nick. Both of them became slightly problematic to each other in that relationship. So
Got
from
it.
that point of view, the voices that were speaking ended up being right, but not the way they thought. Because like
Mm,
their
mm,
issue with him was like well, I'm again extrapolating, but it felt like they were like, he's too smooth. He's a ladies' man. He's not gonna be faithful. He's not gonna be this. He's not gonna see it through. He's here for the wrong reasons. But the things that eventually broke them up had nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing.
Mm,
So if and again, which is why I was saying, why are you breaking up with this man now? You've not even had the real serious conversations. You don't know what the finances look like. You don't know
mm,
if he wants to have kids. You don't know what kind of family he
fair.
comes from. You don't know
Yeah.
what kind of marriage or relationship he wants to have yet. Let's even
Mm,
get to that point and then find out that it's a disaster and then walk away. Not just because people
mm.
are like, oh, he's too smooth. I'm just like, how, so it didn't end well at the end of the day. Like it went really, really left, but it wasn't just
Oh,
him.
sad.
There's Reddits that are dedicated to how badly behaved Hannah was.
Oh
Because she
no.
became mean. She spoke to him in ways that aren't cool.
Oh, sad.
He's also not fully grown. He's got some growing up to do. A lot of growing up to do. But um but my thing there is that too many of us are so scared to make a mistake
Yeah.
that we will instead hold ourselves back from doing something that could potentially be a great thing.
An amazing thing.
Like don't because if you're already afraid of something, even
Yeah.
though your gut is saying go for it, try it.
Yeah.
And now you've
Yeah.
got these voices in your head telling you this is too big a risk. This is
Yeah.
hasn't been done before. This
Yeah.
is why it won't work out. Or like in your case, we don't
Yes.
have faith that you can even deliver this
Yes.
task, this project. If you're already afraid and now you've got negative voices coming into it, chances are you're not going to move. But you're just
Mm.
holding yourself back from what could possibly be a
What
good
could be?
time. What could
Mm.
possibly be a success? What could possibly be groundbreaking? So I know that there
Mm.
is a place for listening to people, 100%. But it's
Yeah.
like you always say, like you chew on the meat, spit out the bones. You take the feedback, but when it comes
Yeah.
down to it, you're the
The
one
decision
who's
is
got to
yours.
make the decision. And so
Mm.
you need to decide, am I going with the risk, whatever the consequences are, or am I going to play it
Mm.
safe? Am I going to sit here
Mm.
and do nothing because I don't want to get hurt? I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to lose money, you know? And
Mm.
there's this, did you ever watch The Good Doctor? You
Oh,
probably didn't. Did
yes.
you? Oh,
Wait,
you did?
is the good doctor the one with autism?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, I did watch it.
There was this thing Sean said on it one time. Yo, I wrote it down because it was I found it. I found it. He said, we are the decisions we make, and if you make other people make your decisions for you, you're not being anyone." I'm just
Shoo.
like, "Okay, Dr. Murphy."
What? W-
I'm gonna say
Whoa.
it again because Cassie is no,
Please
but for
say it
real, think
again.
about it. He says, "We are the decisions we make, and if you make other people make your decisions for you, you're not being
Not
anyone."
being anyone.
Because you can't own any of those things. So, yes, take the input, get the numbers, do the research, understand what the stats are, what the risks are, understand all of that. Speak to people, speak to your therapist. I mean, don't speak to everyone, but the people you trust.
Yes,
Speak
your
to those
circle.
people, your
Mm,
circle, or the experts on the thing you're trying to achieve. Speak to them, gather everything, and then sit down and you make a decision.
and you
Make sure that the
decide.
decision you're making comes from like you're convinced. You're
Yeah.
not doing it just because
Yeah.
someone else is like, this is the right thing to do. Otherwise,
Correct.
who are you?
No, but there's something to be said here because for me this triggered also like, and I mean as children of African parents
Oh, you.
who had
That
a
line
vision.
alone.
I know, who had a vision of what we would be. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like our parents gave birth to us and had visions of us being doctors,
Yes, ma'am.
being
Lawyers.
lawyers, being an accountant, being like all
Mm.
these things, and it just was not meant to be. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And eventually there had to come a point where we deviate from their advice because their advice, and to your point as well, was coming from what their lived experience was,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, you need to, work hard, go to a university, get a degree in like this, then you get a good job, and then you have money, and then you can take care of yourself and your family, and
Mm,
maybe
mhm.
even one day take care of me. Um, like that was the formula card. And so
Mhm.
for us to be like, okay, but I also would like to like learn operatic singing and sometimes travel the
Yeah.
world singing. Like for them,
Yeah.
they're like, what
What does this
what
bring
do
to the
you
table?
mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you want to take 6 weeks off and go sing in Argentina? No, like, like absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know, but again, there's the conviction, there's the evidence of the talent or the thing
Mhm.
to support where you've come
Mhm.
from. But again, this opposing view from people who ultimately love and care for you so deeply. And again,
Mm.
it does require that sense of like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to push through with what I believe to be the right thing for
Yeah.
me. Because
Yeah.
there's definitely something to be said about owning the decision that you've made.
Owning the
Because
decision.
imagine
Yeah.
imagine you make a decision for based on what someone else wants for you, and then it doesn't go well. Like
Yo,
in your
you'll be
mind,
kicking yourself.
you'll be kicking yourself. You're going, I should have trusted myself. I should have trusted my own gut, you know? Whereas if you make a decision for yourself and it goes wrong, there's no part of you that's I mean, there's a part of you that's like, oh, well, maybe I should
You'll
have done
still be
something
kicking
different.
yourself, but at
But
least you
you
feel like
own
I
it and
gave
you
it.
feel like
Yeah.
I gave it my try. I made a
Yeah, yeah,
decision
yeah.
based on what I thought was right and not what someone else thought was right
Someone
for
else.
me.
Yeah. I've got this one story I just thought of now. So I've been watching Poirot, Agatha Christie's Poirot. I watch it off and on. I really enjoy it. You know me and my detective shows, love it. But this is a
But this
really
one sounds
ancient
good.
one. It is good.
Send it to
It's
me. Please
based
send
of
it to me.
okay, but it's ancient, just FYI.
That's okay.
But
That's fine.
David Suchet is so good. He is
Don't
the
know who that
best
is, but
Poirot that
okay.
ever existed. You
Okay.
should watch it. Go look for it. Agatha Christie's Poirot. It's like 13 seasons, but it's really like
Oh.
movies that they've just strung together to make into
Is
seasons.
it
Because like
like is
each
it like Midsummer Murders? Do you remember Midsummer
I
Murders?
do remember sort of, but better.
My dad and I used to watch
I
Midsummer
used to
Murders
enjoy Miss.
together.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And
Yeah.
David Suchet is the guy who plays Poirot in this particular in this series, and he tells the story of how when they wanted to start. And he'd gotten approached by, I think, the director to be like, "Hey, we want to start this thing where we're gonna do, I got like all of her books on Poirot. We're gonna make it into a series."
Mm.
And they were like, "Oh, and you're our first choice. We'd love you to come on as Poirot. We think you'd be a great fit, la 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 la." And he was like, okay, sure. Let him think through it and everything. And he tells the story of going to his elder brother. Cause he was like, cause elder brothers they're full of wisdom. They've experienced the world ahead of you. He's like, he'll have great advice for me. So he goes to his brother, be like, "Oh, this, Agatha Christie's Poirot." Like he hasn't read the books, but he knows him. "Oh, okay, great. I got offered, the role to come in and play this role. What do you think? Like, what should I do? Should I take it?" And his brother was like, "Don't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole."
What?
And yeah, his brother was like, "Don't do it." But then he was convinced that it was a good thing for him. Like it could be a great opportunity. And so he took it. And honestly, because there've been other actors who've played Poirot over the years, and there's even a recent one with Kenneth Branagh who's also done Poirot. If you
Mm.
go on YouTube and you go into any of the comments on anything David Suchet Poirot related, the one thing everybody keeps saying is he's the best one ever in the history
Sure.
of anyone who has played that character. Like
Sure.
even the new ones coming out were like, sorry guys, you can't touch him. Like nobody has embodied the character the way that he
The
has.
way that he did it.
He's like his career blew up from there.
Mm.
He's been knighted.
Mm. Sure.
He's become an icon
Amazing.
from this one thing that his brother said, "Don't do it."
Don't do it. Don't
Don't
do it.
do it. So, but like he took a risk because it could have flopped. Who knew?
It
It
could have
could have
gone
been
so
bad.
wrong.
It could have
But
gone
that's
so
the
wrong.
I think my thing is that like that's living in like what if land. Like
Yeah.
of course it could have gone wrong. everything could go wrong. Like every time I step out the door, something could go wrong. For me, like that's not a good enough reason not to do
Not
it.
to.
Like, what if it goes wrong? No, that's not a good
But
enough reason
for
not to do
most
it.
people, a good reason not to do it is because the people you trust say don't do it.
For sure.
What we're
Yeah.
basically saying now
Yeah.
is that's not enough. Like,
It's not
even if
enough.
the people around you say don't do it, you need to still find it for yourself.
Especially if there is an element of conviction within you,
Within
like your
you.
gut is speaking, like
Mm.
there's something that you're feeling. You can't quite put it into words. But you're
Yeah.
like, this is something that I'm considering for a reason. Like there's a reason that I'm here, you know?
Mm.
So yeah. Anyway, I
Take
think
the leap. Do it. Trust your gut
sometimes
sometimes.
take
Trust
the
your gut.
leap, you know?
Yeah.
But I think ultimately at the end of the day, it really is about the decision that you make. And I think that's something you've said off the quote that you read as well, is there needs to be an element of ownership that comes from you, because then it will feel like yours. And I feel like
Yeah.
the lessons you learn, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, will carry more weight for you if
Mm.
ultimately the decision is yours. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I think I think it's a tough one. It is also
It
a
is
tough
a
one,
tough one.
especially when the voices that are against what your conviction is saying are those that you trust the most. But I
Mm.
think, and as we wrap, but like I think again, things that I would keep in mind if you do find yourself in this situation, make sure the voices that are speaking to you are voices that you trust, voices that are speaking from a place of genuine care and concern for you, not just randos who are speaking to you. And
Yeah, of
be
course.
careful of the number of people you're seeking counsel from, because that can really throw things off and make things very confusing. And whatever you do decide, make sure that you gather the necessary input and the decision remains yours. Because again, I think you'll feel a lot more, you'll learn a lot more if you can go, whatever the outcome was, I own it,
Mm.
it's mine.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us today. Very interesting episode. I've learned a lot of things about myself in this thing, stuff that I need to go and marinate in. It's gonna be an interesting time. But I hope you had a good time as well. Come say hi on socials. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok, and of course, you can find us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts if you want to check out some of our other content as well. Okay. Yeah. Love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe anywhere and everywhere you find your podcasts. Also, you can watch and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, love you. Bye.